we have with us one today we have with us one of our very own, an erudite in computer science. I will be reading his profile and introducing him to us, bringing him to the podium to talk to us about academic CV, how to write a great academic CV. We have Mr. Abdullahi Abubakar Kau. Mr. Abdullahi Abubakar Kau is interested in research in human computer interaction, digital health, and ICT for D, which means information communication technology for development. He's passionate about people and technology, in particular, exploring their engagements with technology. He is currently a PhD research fellow at TU Dublin under the Science Foundation Ireland SFI Centre for Research Training in Digitally Enhanced Reality (D-REAL) program. Now, prior to his joining TU Dublin, he graduated from Newcastle University in the United Kingdom with an MSc in Advanced Computer Science with a distinction. Now, with a focus on human-computer interaction, he has worked as a consultant for international organizations such as the Malaria Consortium, the World Bank, and the United Nations Development Programme (UNDP), where he had the unique opportunity to learn and apply technical leadership, project management, and monitoring and evaluation skills in health projects. I hope we can all hear me. Yeah, if you can hear me, you can just drop on the group chat. You can just, sorry, drop on the chat box that you can hear me.
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so at this time, I would just go ahead and invite Mr. Abdullahi Abubakar Kau to take us through the journey of preparing a great academic CV. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi, sir. Mr. Abdullahi.
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen. Do I have permissions to do that?
Yes, sir, you can. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Okay. Really sorry, this. Can you see my screen? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can see your screen now.
Okay, great. So a very good day to everyone. Here it's an afternoon, sometime around 3 p.m. I'm sure in Nigeria it's 4 or so. And then maybe for people joining us from outside those time zones, it could be morning or something. But yeah, welcome to today's talk. And I've been invited to speak on academic CVs actually. And I will take us through this talk from live experiences. But before then, so who am I? Yes, my name is Abdullah Bakar Kau. I'm Nigerian for those who may be joining us from different parts of the world. I lecture in a higher education institution. Basically, I lecture in a university in Nigeria. I was also a consultant to some international organizations like Malaria Consortium, UNDP, World Bank, and a host of others. I also have, or I'm still holding some positions actually, as technical coordinator for a network of really great people across Africa and Asia working on data. And then I serve as technical manager for a grant from the International Development Research Council of Canada. I have also received a grant in the past from the Royal Academy of Engineering with my colleagues in IBBU, mentored by our own Professor Ibino, and of course, colleagues from Bayes University, Abuja. More recently, I have received another grant for the institution-based research from TED Fund. And currently, which is my major endeavor anyway, at this time, it's that I'm a PhD research fellow. In short, that means a PhD student, but this time fully funded by the European Union under the SFI. Generally, I have interest in technologies on a general level, but specifically towards health or education, and generally anything that, of course, impact on society. So if you had to pick 3 to 4 keywords as my interest, you have find me working in areas such as HCI, digital health, and educational health, which I've missed, educational tech, and then ICT 4D. Outside of all this very professional, profile, I also, as somebody described, he said I'm funny. I'm not sure anyway, but let's see. But then I love to play sometimes and more actively soccer, and then have decent conversation, especially one that leads to change, that leads to impact. So also a good book. So you could just recommend any good book, and then you may always reach me if you have some decent conversations about just anything that makes life a little easier than the world we live in. So having said this about myself, let's go to the crux of the matter, which is CVs. This is basically the outline. I try to put them all into like 3 key points. That is, let's look at what makes an effective CV, and let's look at let's highlight the principle, then we'll look at what makes it, and then review some case study. So, what is a CV? I would love some interaction. Being a teacher, I love some feedback always when I'm in the class. But for some of us who have seen this video, it's a funny video. But before I play it, let's see. What is a CV? Can we have from the audience? You could use the chat. You could also unmute just 1 or 2 responses to be sure people are hearing me. I'm not talking to myself. Okay,
A CV is curriculum vitae.
Yeah, curriculum vitae. Yeah, and I wouldn't bore you with what that means, like academically or in terms of definition and all that. We can always Google that. The point is, how do we make such? But let's start with some, I'll call them. Let's watch this video. I think it's just to make us relax into the topic.
CV. Yeah. Okay. Okay, CV is an abbreviation. What's the complete word? C. Yeah. V. Yeah. Certificate. You got it? Okay. If you don't get it, forget about it. Full meaning of.
Okay, so before you get it or you forget about it, let's look at what the CV should be. We'll come back to what it is. It is really. I really want you to form your opinion of what a CV is. It doesn't have to be academic. Yes, we need to write academic CV, but your opinion of a CV should not be academic. Really, it should be about what you think a CV should be and should look like. But of course, looking at what others have also been able to pen down as their CV. So basically, a CV, if you look at it, should persuade you. Whenever why do you need a CV in the first place? It's actually for a purpose, right? And this purpose usually is to either get a job or maybe more recently, I mean, at a higher level, maybe if you are invited for a talk and they want to be sure you're an expert in that area, or but more generally, it is used to get jobs, right? Either job as academics, job in the government, job in institutions. But before that happens, I mean, before you get any job, usually there are people that will apply for the same spot for the same job for which you are selected. So it is a tool that enables you to communicate to those who make selections about your life within those pages of paper. Like, not necessarily from when you are born anyway, but like from where you receive formal education, from the experiences you have related to the job position you're applying for. So, but the ultimate aim of the CV is to persuade the selector that you pass on your CV to. So it could be an academic position, like I said, which may require an academic CV. It could also be maybe in the industry or even government. See, even if you are not interviewed, right, and you are given a job, just know that it is a spot for many, but you are choosing ahead of others, probably because of um, the way you have presented yourself, even with your CV. I mean, talking about level on a level playing ground. But there are three most important elements of every CV. One is your CV must tell the panel or the selectors about what you can do, like what you can do, not just stating it, but giving very concrete evidences of that. Also, how you must persuade them in terms of how motivated you are about the position you want to be given, right? And then also demonstrate that you are fit for that position. So when you look at it, to really show that you can or you have the right knowledge, skill, and ability, you must show that in the CV. By the way, there's a general rule in CV making. Don't assume your employer should know. Okay? He can only maybe, what do you call it, evaluate you based on what is before him. Also, we'll talk about some other principle, which is that there shouldn't be, again, too many information or too less information. So it's between the two spectrum. You can't just say I'm a graduate of biochemistry, for instance, or I'm a computer science graduate, and you stop at that. It's different when you present it with some accompanying information. That way, your accessor or your selector is able to understand your experiences as a graduate of computer science. So for every CV, you actually need to do some basic research. So CVs usually are tailored. Yeah, I need to say this, like the CV I will use for a consultancy or a consultancy job is different from the CV I will use for a job in a university, because these are two environments. Okay, but and it makes sense, right? So when you think of the academic, you are thinking used to papers, publications, and all of that. So that's really what tripped them off. Like, how many citations have you got? How many, you know? So, well, that's what trips them. Like, and then what is your best grades and all of that, you know? But in the industry, it's a little tailored towards what can you really do. Okay, so there is more about what you can do than about your best grades, about your. So you need to note that. But in addition, even for academic CV, you must really look at carefully what the position is about. So recently, I was shared, and a lecturer, I think Professor Rita shared about a PhD position or assistant professor position in a university in Canada, and they said they prefer someone in artificial intelligence. You know, so unless your field is very related to that, it's also a waste of energy, in my opinion, to just throw in any application, because the position is clear about what it needs and how it needs it. You also need to do a research about the department, the faculty, the university sector. So many universities have usually focus areas. So sometimes you may have experiences in some of those areas. So you need to highlight them more to be more prominent in the CV than the areas that they are not so interested in. Yeah, there's areas that are general, there are areas that will show that, yeah, you have had a lot of experience, but the experience must be tailored. So you have to bring forth what makes it very relevant to the position you are applying for. So it's similar to the industry, but you can see in the industry they are looking at your service. You need to look at the product and service, kind of the department, the organization, what are their competitors, because all this can help you shape your CV. Like, if they know you have a skill that will enable them go ahead of their competitors, you know, firms, organization will be most happy. Say Shell or LMPG or some of these, they're really after people that will bring in more revenue to the company. And if you can prove that you can do that, talking about what you can do, then definitely you'll be chosen ahead of others when it comes to CV. So how do you find what to include in your CV, or I mean information about the position, the field, and all of that? Of course, the job description, usually for every job, there is a specific skill they will require and criteria and all. You can also find from company websites, staff websites, prospects, especially for industry, trade press, or if you like, say newspapers, networks. This includes social media networks, like Facebook, Twitter, and all. And sometimes even informal calls, right? So I remember like one of the consultants I had for the malaria project. Actually, a friend we had worked on another project called me like, I'm like, I think you're a good fit for this. I was like, are you sure? I'm like, why would I, not that I've had this interest in doing consultancy work outside my major work as an academic, but I wasn't sure I'm fit. Let me use that word. Having looked at really quite a few things, I realized yes, it's just okay to put in, and then yeah, I think it was overall a very good experience, and one was successful in the application. So yeah, so really informal calls are a very good way to find some information, because he also like helped out in learning, explaining the further scope of the work, which helped me, tailor the word tailor, please, on tailor my CV. So reference to what you can offer, basically your employers or your prospective employers this time, or they're looking at you. Especially in the focus area, right? Research, teaching, and then community service. And of most of all of this, research like takes more precedence. So that's the emphasis. Like that's what people are promoted largely on. So you must decide, like research involves quite a lot, right? And these are things now that you carefully highlight in your CV. Okay. They may look like a given. They may be very simple to things to think, why would one include it? But yeah, you need it to emphasize to the selector that you have what it takes, to do research. So we're talking academic CV in this case. So really, even if it is not academic, you still need to demonstrate some of this, because even in industry, people are interested in people who have some of these skill sets that are also very relevant to research. So what do you include? Yes, equal information are your personal details. And here I will explain what I mean here. Never about your date of birth, but we'll come to this. Then the education, your work experience, your interests, your skills, and of course, if the referees. So your heading for your CV could include research profile, publication, conference, technical skill, and professional membership. Or this is mostly academic, of course. You can see we have mostly repeated research and all of that. So outside academic CV, of course, relevance is to skills and knowledge, which could include project and resources managed. So sometimes people miss this, right? So especially at the international level now, the fact that you are a member of your church organization or Islamic society or what other one, nannies, and all those local organizations, they are very useful, especially at the international level, to tell your employer that you have been through. You may not know it, but that is training you to be a manager. So if you are uh, in your Islamic or your Christian organization and you are the treasurer, that experience have trained you to be financially a financial manager, if you like. And then if you think through it deeply, and if you learn to follow the practices of finance by that activity, you will have learned how to maybe document petty cashes, how to go to the bank to check out, and all those are skills you may not know that you are learning and that you can actually include in your CV. You understand? But like I said, not all of that may be entirely necessary in some cases, especially for instance in academic CV, because an academic, like I told you, the emphasis is on your research output, which is largely represented by a publication. But when you go out for jobs outside, some of these help your employee or your employers, your prospective employers, to know that no, this person can, if need be, even if maybe it's not really your core part of the work, but if need be, you could actually switch roles to this. Some people really switch roles within the same organization. But they're able to do that, they're able to be identified for some they can, because give it or take it, I mean, like it or not, even as much as the world is trying to specialize, people with multiple skills are preferred in an organization just for some of these reasons, like I mentioned. So outside academic, you'll need to emphasize more of your competence, more of your interest and all. What can you use as evidence? The academic background. Again, this is for largely academic CV. Remember, our topic is around academic CV, but I'm trying to still bring the distinction so that we know what that is. Your practical work, your laboratory, and then your research success. So when you look at it, research has appeared like two times. and like I told you, if you take so if you divide the academia into three, one part is completely research. In fact, many will even tell you it's like 2/3 of the thing. Because even in teaching, in advanced country, what you research on is largely part of what you teach. So, see? So then maybe in industry, you talk of work experience, casual, and not the part I mentioned, voluntary. Voluntary activity has, for most times, been missing in many people's CV, but it can be very useful. And then even your military service. So in this case, military service is really referred to NYSC. And yeah, so NYC is an opportunity that you may have been somewhere else, okay, but you may not necessarily put it as military service or so. But it's a time in the year that you have a whole year to yourself, and within that time you could have learned a skill, do this and that, and all of that you can actually add in your work experience. Now, let's dive into the thing. This is a CV. Do you think this is a CV with an impact? Or let me use a more simple word. Is this a CV, an effective CV? How many of us have seen CV like this or have CVs like this? Okay, sorry, I've let me see if I can move from screen to screen. Okay, I'm just trying to get some feedback. Okay, well, I'll ask the next question and then we'll respond from there.
Hello, sir.
Green? No, how about this? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
We can hear
Okay.
you, but I think the network is breaking intervals.
Oh,
So maybe, I don't know, maybe you could turn off your video and just leave the screen share, because when you're using
yeah.
video and screen share, you use a lot of bandwidth.
Okay, maybe I will just do that. Okay. So let me share again. Okay, can we see the screen now? Seen?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. So we have two CVs here, right? This is a CV with some. Remember, we said if you go back to this, okay, yeah. Yeah. Remember, we said personal details, right? So I actually the personal details here. Okay, we have this. This is our personal information, right? And then yeah, the name, date of birth, and all. Okay, I have this. So this is the same person CV, but this is one way he or she presented it, and then this is another. Which one do you think is effective in your opinion? Sorry, I'm having really a hard time trying to switch screens out. Yeah, but you can use the chat, or you just turn
Okay.
turn on the mic and then
For
switch.
me, okay. Thank you very much, sir. I think for me,
The second
can
one.
we?
Did I hear the
Yes,
second?
the second one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. And one other person, anyone feels the first one? Yeah, the first one. Okay, Yusuf.
I also think the second one is better.
Okay.
Because usually when you're applying, a lot of this information that you have in the first one will probably be input in another place during the application. So why repeat information that is already somewhere else? So I feel the second one is better.
Okay. Yeah. So we have two different opinions now. Like, Some people think it's the first one, and some say second one. Let's go forward. Now, before your answers, can we have a look? This is Rita Oji. Professor Rita Oji is a professor. In fact, she's a professor of persuasive technology. Known her for quite long, like since 2018. And she's one of the top women in Canada, top 100 women in academia. Though Nigerian, of course, but yeah. And we've met once, yeah, in one African country, yeah. And this is her opinion, right? And I'm sure you can see. I hope people are seeing the screen, right? Needless
Yes,
to,
sir.
yeah. So this is what she said sometime in 2019. So I think I can just go forward because we'll talk about why she's saying this, right? Okay.
Okay.
Then this is Dr. Deepo. Yeah, and then this is what he's saying. Okay. So now let's go back to this exercise. This or this? Yusuf now.
The second one is okay now.
Okay, the second one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So now the thing is this, right? The first one is entirely bad. I mean, it has a historical antecedent. I want to believe it didn't just happen. Like people didn't just, because this is not the first time. Like it's not. I can tell you for free, most professors in Nigeria have their CVs this way. Sorry for, it's not like I'm and for most academic, even young people, I saw one of my colleagues, and it is in this format. So it has to be something that may have, yeah. And the thing is, I didn't have enough time to do research to add that particular advert. I saw an advert from some of these federal universities, most recent adverts. A federal university, all these new ones that have new open. If you're in Nigeria, federal university, I don't know. And they will tell you this is the format they want. Like they'll tell you want a name, you want your email, you want your date of birth, you want to know number of children you have. Do you get, like, this is no fiction. This is what I saw in an advert. That was when I now understand that it wasn't the fault of the applicant in this case. It was more of what the organization requests. And that is why when Dr. Deepo said this at the end, what did he say? Except, so there are really exceptions. If you're applying to my company and I say this is how I want it, even if you are the very best candidate, if you didn't tailor it to what I want, then I have a right to not select you, right? Because it comes down to me, right? So needless to say, my point is this now, that this is not the best, but if the academic institution or the organization wants it in this format, please give them, just happily or angrily give them, whichever one that works for you. But of course, this stands out, right? This is more effective. Why will I need to know your marital status, for God's sake? Like yours, in an age where gender is not an issue. Well, if it were an issue, if they come to interview me, they may tell me or something. They may specify in the criteria. So some of these things are really unnecessary. Okay. I just last week, right? Someone shared their CV, and I saw number of children. In fact, my mind was like, and I was like, this is even like to your disadvantage if I'm to like assess you. To tell me you have let's say 15 children, and I need you to do some intellectual work. I was like, this candidate self, maybe his children will not allow him to do the work. Do you understand? So sometimes again, it may be you are putting yourself in a disadvantage by providing all the information in the world. So really having enough for people to contact you is what the CV is about. Remember my points in between of saying you have to watch the spectrum, not having enough and not having too much. So you have to be in between. And this is just one aspect of it. So we have looked at now the personal details of the person, talking about this as an example. So that is most preferred. Now let's look more practically. This time I'll pull up CVs. These are live CVs. So due to time, because I know maybe I may be overrunning my time, but I don't know how many more minutes I have.
2 minutes, sir.
Aha! Adiza, that's not fair. But anyway, okay, since it's 2 minutes, I'll just go to a perfect one because I wanted us to see from how bad it can be to how good it can be, and then how to pay attention. But since time is not a friend, maybe we just... So this CV is actually from one of the influencers. Some of us know him. If you are following on Twitter and all.
We can't see your screen, sir.
Okay. But I have too many tabs on. This system itself is a headache. Okay. Yeah. So this is Dr. His name is Dr. Olumuyiwa Igbalajobi. Yeah, some of us that follow, when you're applying for some of these scholarship and academic positions, like the one that I'm a beneficiary of now, like you'll have come across a lot of material, a lot of training, conscious or subconscious training on how to make these things. The CV, the cover letter, this SOP, But I really find this quite interesting. More so, he's also a Nigerian, and So if you are looking at it, first he had his name. Actually, this name is supposed to be very close to this. So similar to the sample we saw earlier, this is all he had of his personal information. If you look at, there are no more than 4 items. The name, which appeared here, I didn't have, somehow it jumped. So I'm sure you understand. Then the phone number, very important also. Yeah, sometimes, you don't know who will pick up your number and then they want to call. Then, of course, your email address, then the address. So if you are to analyze the personal information... Hello?
Can you zoom in a little, please?
Okay, sure. Is it better?
Yeah, better. Thank you.
So you have four key information: the name, right? The the phone number, the email address, and the address itself. Okay, this should also be more okay, so if you have postal address, it will be helpful to put only the postal address. Why am I saying this? If you needed to be contacted by post, especially with international organization, say they've sent you an email, somehow it's not working, they've tried the phone number or something, or they want to even, let's say they even know all of this information and they want to send some package, they could actually easily pick up your address and send them. So that's why it has to be on purpose. Like it has to be your postal address, the one you should expect to receive post anytime. So mostly I always use my department, my university address rather than for academic position, rather than my personal address. And so this is the reason, except in some different circumstances. So research interests, again, this is a summary of what Dr. Lumuyiwa is involved in, is engaged in. Remember, if you remember my presentation, I mentioned 4 interests. Do you remember? So why do I do that? It's also to persuade you as an audience, or to persuade the person that may be looking at my CV. I always reflect or always add that line so that you know that it is one of my interests. So if you are interested in anything HCI, yes, I'm your go-to guy. If you are interested in anything digital health, yes, I'm your go-to guy. If I'm interested in anything educational technology, yes, I'm your go-to guy. You know, that kind of a thing. And then, of course, ICT for development, which is more general. I used to always say this. If you go to register a company, they always say, always add and general services, that kind of thing. So for me, ICT for D is the general services, if you like. But my core interests are those 3 areas. Yeah. So then the education. The education is of course your highest qualification first. Again, I see people invert it. They'll bring BSc first, then the masters if they have. Now that's wrong. You actually bring your highest qualification, because with most academic institutions, it is what you left off last they consider to know your latest educational achievement. So bring your PhD or whatever highest qualification first. And there is no need for primary school, I beg. Like, even companies that employ secondary school leavers, they don't expect you to give them a CV with primary school. In fact, for secondary school, I think the minimum I've seen of a serious job application is that you have secondary school SAT. Okay, and you must have it. So you don't necessarily have to reflect that you have passed through primary education. Like, it's just an additional information that is, like I said, may look like a too much information that may not be useful in the overall assessment. So try to avoid that. And so for academic, like I said, the emphasis is we want to know your personal information, but we want to also know that you meet minimum qualifications. Minimum qualification, yes, must be as specified in the area from the institution. So if you are looking for a PhD position, if they say you must have masters, please ensure you have it first before you invest a lot of energy. Yes, there are institutions abroad that with your BSc, you can even do your PhD. You do not need to do your MSc. Very plenty of them. UK have that. Some Australia, I think, even Ireland. So, but for a large number of them, you must have an MSc. So if they specifically say you must have an MSc, some will write must, some will say you need to. You must read between the lines. If it's you need to, and the other further say, or you can have a BSc, then with only your BSc you are fine to go. If they say you can MSc, so basically meet the minimum criteria for that, and then list now your experience. Okay. Now this may not for academic position, of course, like I said, your experience is around your research publication. Your experience, is about research positions. Yeah, let me use that word. So like you can see, he was a research fellow. He was also another research fellow, and then he was a student. Basically, what he's saying is he was a PhD student at this time. So those are all experiences, because during his PhD, he was through all this. And then, yeah, he was a research assistant. Yeah, I always add, I'll show you my CV in a bit, but I also have some sort of experience like that. So you can see the research experience is quite, and then he didn't just mention, so you need to also, let's analyze one of the experience. First, state the experience quite emphatically, but also state where that experience was obtained and from what time to what time. Also important is to state what you were doing during that experience. You can ask supervisor. Supervisor is usually will help you add credence, and like they will know, no, you have been supervised on by specialists. So like last week, I received a 6-week internship certificate, and really I had a supervisor who was a bioinformatics professional. So one thing that will make someone believe more that, yeah, you had that training that you claim to have, is to list your supervisor. And most likely your supervisor may be known as part of the network of experts. And so they will immediately say, no, I can even contact the supervisor, like to confirm if this guy can do the job, So it's a way to persuade, again, the word persuasion, and then specifically list out what you have done. So this is how, if you look at it, similar to all these experiences. Then honors and award, yeah. If you have an award from your university, just have it there. And you can see, even though now he's in Canada, of course, enjoying himself, and he had award from Germany and all of that, and Korea, you can see that he had included a one-time payment of 150,000 naira. Now I can only imagine how many 150 has dashed people. But these are humble beginning. Like, people don't know that these things can pay. And look at, you can see 50,000 naira. So before he got here, his CV was actually having just these two. But it shows his sponsors that, no, this guy has potential for him to be able to earn this award. Do you understand? It can be very trivial. I saw one award of best graduating student, and it's 10,000. For the student, my opinion is the benefit is not in the 10,000. It is in the recognition. So many people miss that point, and they will like, it disappoints many young people to say, if after getting the best result you are only giving 10,000, or you are giving a laptop, then what's the point? My friends, it's more than that. Like, people are after people with excellence, So, and this is a given. This is an example. So again, teaching experience. So you can see he has prioritized his research experience before teaching. Can you see? And then publications. Of course, this will be very plenty. These are all publications. They can be conference journals. They can be journals to conferences and all. So without much waste of time. This is just how it goes. Then community service. Remember I mentioned academia is RTC, right? Research, teaching, and community service. And you can see that's how you tailored the CV. Okay. Community service in research, being a reviewer of a paper is considered a community service too. You are serving the community to grow. So language spoken, this is also good at international level, especially. Even locally, people, so I sometimes speak Yoruba and some people like, that's an interesting thing to know about me, But yeah, it's the same application elsewhere or in the international scene. So if you can speak French, my brother, you are also a very big asset, and it could help you in application to French countries because they know, no, this guy is not just an applicant; he's also somebody that have, So it's good to highlight, even if you don't have that kind of, but highlight very major language that you are good in. Then of course your referees, which should be people who are aware of your work, your most recent work. So I see people quoting their father and mother. I beg. Reference are for professional people who know you from the professional point of view. That is either most likely your immediate past supervisors. Some some recruiters or some academic institution will tell you, would categorically tell you we need an academic referee first. Then you can bring any other person. So meaning somebody who supervised your work, most likely your last education, most likely also from yeah your maybe the place where you had done internship or something. So basically that's how it is. So what follows is actually we call it a cover letter, but I wouldn't want to waste time on that since we have no time already. The only thing I would just say is finally, we have looked at CVs, and these are the basic principles. You must emphasize relevance. You must order it correctly. RTC, if you must not, if you are looking at academic CV, right? So never miss the word RTC. Emphasize your research, then your teaching positions or experience. Teaching place could be that you are helping your lecturer take any class. So I used to tell my students, my top student anyway in school, that they should join me in class, and they don't realize that it's a valuable thing to add to a CV, and but that is it, And also, even if it is tutorials, these are things that you add as your teaching experience. So yeah, I'll be sharing the PowerPoint. People can look at it. But yeah, looking at format, we have looked at particularly personal statement and personal details, and we have looked at Dr. Lumuyiwa, so you can see what that entails. But what are the common mistakes? Spelling errors. Please avoid it as much as possible. Too much, too little information. We have talked about that. Irrelevant details, age, marital status, number of children. I beg, avoid it. No personality, sure. Poor presentation, of course, dull vocabulary. Yeah, again, it's good to have people who they are very fluent and communicate better to review what you wrote about in your CV generally. Sometimes you want to say something, but the words may elude you. So you shouldn't be shy to share as much as possible so that people that are better could communicate it. That always, yeah. And then, so there's this thing called covering letter, but I think maybe in another session where I talk of covering letter and interview, that can be covered due to time. So final points, start with a clear understanding of what the selector wants. Like I said, if it's federal government, if it's federal universities, and they said they need a CV that have date of birth, I beg, kindly give them. But if you're applying elsewhere, and especially in the international arena, you know that is very not useful information at all. And then ensure a CV is targeted. Like I said, a CV for an organization is different from an academic institution for the various reasons we have advanced. And then, ask others for feedback. I can't emphasize that again. So again, what is CV? For those that missed the first part.
Full meaning of CV.
CV.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, CV is an abbreviation. What's the complete word?
C.
Yeah.
V.
Yeah.
Certificate. You get it?
Okay.
If you don't get it, forget about it.
So, I think we have a lovely evening today. So again, what is CV? Is it that we should forget about it? For me, a CV is simply a tool, right? It's a tool. It's just like hammer and all of that, but a tool used to persuade your selectors or your recruiters to actually get you the position that you're applying for. So, and you can define it as much as you like, or you can Google what CV means. But for me, it's not as useful as what you take as your own definition, and which is why what I freely express here, that it's a tool. And if you think of it like a tool, then again there are tools that are not fit for purpose, right? So you could have a hammer, but a hammer may not untie a knot for you, right? You needed a screwdriver or some other screw, something to get that. So you may have a tool, but if you didn't make it fit for purpose, so you may have your CV, but if you don't make it really look great and really look like as good as it should look, then you are more likely going to not have a good CV at the end. So thank you, and happy to have shared this time with all of us. Thank you. Sorry for taking just so much time.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate it. It was very, very
Thank you
informative.
so much, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, we still have one section left before, which is the question
Oh,
and answer.
I
I don't
never
know
knew
if
we had
anybody has a
multiple sections.
question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, somebody dropped a question on the chat box. Please, if you have a question, you can just give me your hand, and I would give you the permission to unmute and talk, or you drop it on the chat box. Okay, sir. Somebody was asking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Yusuf, you would prefer to talk than, because it's the same person that was asking on the chat box. Yusuf, you can
Okay.
unmute and ask your question.
Oh yes, sir. Without wasting much time, I wanted to ask. There was a time my mate wanted to apply for a a job a job in school. So he asked me to type his CV for him, and what he gave me, I saw BSc in view because we are still undergraduates. We are still doing the BSc program, and it was
Mm-hmm.
stated clear from the company that they needed undergraduate students either in school or is graduated already. So I don't know,
Okay.
is that BSc in view
Yeah.
proper to use?
Yeah. So, yeah. First, don't judge him too much. It's how they used to put it. But I think the most appropriate way for which I have received training on, I think, is to really specify the year of graduation. Do you understand? Like, so now that I'm doing PhD, I could say 2021 to 2020, so. Do you get? Yeah. So rather than in view, because that's not transparent and it's not known when you will complete your study and all of that. But most likely when you are applying, especially anyway, this is mostly at international level. They want to know when you want to when you are completing your studies. So if you say in view, like in view of what, you know, so but if you tell me, okay, I'm completing this year and I'm applying so that immediately I finish, because most, in fact, here they will tell you before you finish, you can start applying. So as soon as you are done, and even your your employers will know that, yeah, when you are done is when you join them, but you are applying. So again, like I always say, remember you are in a pool of applicants. So if you give any reason for you to be for you to always for the employer to do more work, then you are most likely going to be dropped. Because nobody wants more work. So if you are putting in view, are you expecting them to call you to ask when are you finishing so that you immediately start? So you need to state clearly, except if you are the very stellar candidate that they can't go do without, which obviously may not be the case. So you have to really state the period, not necessarily the month, but at least the year, so that, yeah, from this year to this year. That's my response. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
sir. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for the response. We
Welcome.
have another question here.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have another question here, and the question says, please, I would like to know the difference between a CV and a resume.
Okay,
So, what is the difference between a CV and a resume?
I think that question goes to you, Hadiza. But anyway, it's why I'm saying so sorry for the audiences. I remember I saw a post, right? If I remember, on LinkedIn, and it just says it perfectly.
Okay, maybe I will share the post again on
Uh,
our group chat on our community. If you have not joined, just click on the WhatsApp link on the chat box. In brief, a CV is actually majorly for academic purposes, while a resume is directly for job when you are seeking for a job.
yeah, so
But
if I'll add,
I
yeah, it's okay.
okay, I don't know if we have anybody else that has a question. We can still take one or two. Okay, it means that we have. Okay, somebody's
And this is
raising
your
her
answer.
hand.
The person asking
Nafisa,
resume CV.
Yes,
Nafisa,
thank you
speak.
so much for the presentation, sir. Adiza, thank you for clarifying between what a CV is and a resume. Yeah.
Hello,
Hello?
Nafisa.
I would like
Did
to
I?
ask for somebody who has been out of who has graduated for like few years.
I guess network is
Can you
affecting.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I think your network, but we
Yes,
can now.
Nafisa, we can hear
Okay,
you.
I'll just type the question. Thank you. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, I am just. Oh, thank you, Adiza, for the clarification between a CV and resume. Yeah, please, I want to ask. Knowing the fact that a CV is for somebody who is going into academia and a resume is for work purpose, for the purpose of job. Now, if somebody who has graduated a few years ago is trying to go back to academia, let's say he or she is trying to go for masters, And for the number of years he or she has graduated, he has been working or she has been working. So does it mean that while trying to apply for a master's program, he or she doesn't need to include the work experiences, despite the fact that he or she has been working after graduation as an undergraduate? So trying to go further for a postgraduate studies, for a graduate study, let's say masters and the likes, is it necessary to list the work experiences? Yeah, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nafisa. So the thing is this, right? First, there's a general rule I always tell people to pay attention to, which is that try to, as much as possible, as fast as you can, get your master's degree. It's very important because when you leave a lot of time between your undergrad and a master degree, there's so much that it gives a lot of concern for people who want to maybe fund you for master. So, having said that, if it is for funded positions, there's a difference between when institution want to fund you and when you are using your own money. And there's also difference in terms of the territory. When it's Nigeria, all they care about is what did you graduate with, and then did you meet the minimum qualification and your own level, you know. But out there are a lot of things that determine your admission and eventual funding. So there are two things. You can get admitted but not be funded. You can get admitted and be funded. So part of it is since your graduation, what have you been doing? Is it relevant to? So you can't be a graduate of mechanical engineer and you are the teller in Access Bank. You understand? Like it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there you can see they are not related, right? So what is expected is even if you are taking up work like that, try to take up research internship position on the side. Maybe you can even arrange, like we have the AERG, that is Advanced Engineering Innovation Research Group, where you can work maybe on weekends on some research projects. But you must be clear that this is now what you now be including in your CV that as your and of course it has to be based on that arrangement with the director and all. So I hope I've not been speaking everywhere, but it's making sense to you, right? So it's not helpful generally to
Yes,
stay
thank you.
outside your degree for too long and then return. Many employers, they are really worried about that because they are worried that you may have lost touch. You know, there are a lot of innovation that may have gone between that period and you are not aware. So even if you'll be funded, you may not understand the latest state of art and all. So they would rather give somebody who can tell them, oh, this is what is happening in the field recently, and they know, that's if you are to be funded. But if you are using your own money, they may pay less attention to that, maybe more attention to your well, they're interested in the money anyway. So they may pay also attention to your personal statement, like your motivation. Remember when I mentioned the can, the want, and the fit. So when it comes to funding, all that matters. That can you do it? Do you really want the funding, which you have to show by every way, and are you fit for it? But when you have the money, yes, can is part of it. Fitting for purpose is part of it, but about want is not so much about it. It's not so much about your SOP. Mainly, what happens is if you are not requesting for funding, if you are using your funding, it's just one person that will review and just go. But if they are to give you, it's a couple of panelists that will review your whole life for you. Like this guy finished this year, so why is it after 4 years? No, it's true. I mean, think about it as a business. Even if you are a business person, that do you think you want to employ somebody who say he can drive manual car only? Well, in this case, maybe manual is good. It's a good thing, but I'm just saying, like, how will you like if someone say, I know how to drive manual and auto, than someone who say, I can only drive 6 of those years? You can't give him your money or your car or something. So yeah, that's how it is. And if you need specific feedback, yeah, my email is there. Oh, okay. Did I share it? But it's simply ibbu.edu.ng. Sorry, Adiza, I've break all rules, Abi.
No problem, sir. Actually, we are benefiting from every second of the presentation and the questions you've been answering. So I don't know if anybody else has a question. We don't want to leave any question unanswered.
Oh, okay. I just want to say that thank you for the webinar. I think it has been really insightful. And another thing I wanted to say is, when you started your presentation, you said you're a football fan, and then I think you do some extracurricular activity. So you didn't say anything about maybe a section in the CV. I mean, I think some people usually put that in the CV, like extracurricular activity or hobby. And I know I've seen some really weird things in those sections before. So maybe you can just say a little about the kind of things that should be put inside the hobby section and the kind of thing that should be avoided in those sections. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, please.
Sorry, sir.
No.
Before you answer, he was saying some few weird things and he didn't mention some of those things. I think some years back I used to put things like cooking in my hobby. So yes, we would really love to hear about it.
Okay. Yeah, so fair enough. I think it's used to be a good thing to have in the CV. Need not lie. But when it comes to really academic CV, does it really matter? Is the question. So I will usually not include that. And for most of the people I've looked up to and I've reviewed their work, they can say it casually like I did in the beginning, but that CV is actually a serious business. It's even less when you look at resume. Resume, you can have bits of that, but really, even for hobbies in resume, you have to make it relevant to the position you're applying for. So say in software, for instance, you are a software engineer, you are actually applying for software position. Yes, your company will be very interested in someone who loves watching not movies per se, but tutorials about the latest technology or something, and somebody reading. You could say reading a good book, like I said, but they know, yeah, that is a trait that could be useful to the company too, because if they need someone to read up things, or if there's any challenge, they are sure you are. I mean, some people just simply hate reading. So like I said, it's a thing that positions you. So, but in an academic CV, we are too, like somebody said, we are too tough. I wouldn't advise that hobbies be in academic CV. Maybe resume, for which that is quite not in the academic environment, So yeah, for resumes maybe, but for CVs, I would say no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful time. At this point in time, I would love to appreciate each and every one of us for being part of this workshop. Just like I said at the beginning of the workshop, it is a series, and we are going to continue next week. We will be looking at another new or another topic rather that would also assist us in yes, we'll be talking about essay specifically. So please, let's try as much as possible to be available, because all these are quite important if we really want to apply for graduate schools. So I want to thank each and every one of us for being part of this. The event wouldn't have been
Thank you so much,
possible if
Adiza.
we did not avail ourselves. And for Mr. Abdullah, we appreciate you. We appreciate you for being here with your tight schedule, your work. You were still able to make it and have this time with us. Thank you so much, and you all have a
Hope
lovely
you
day.
get it.
Bye.
Thank you, Miss Adiza.
If you don't get
Forget
it,
about it. Thank you,
You get
Mr.
it.
Abdullahi. Thank you so much.
All right. My pleasure. Bye.
For the